Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Power of Attorney podcast. I am your host, LeTonya Moore. Today, I have with me Ms. Gwen Walker, who actually, following her retirement after working 34 years with the Internal Revenue Service, she actually has a long and wonderful career there, right? So she started as a revenue agent in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, auditing many different kinds of individuals and businesses. She also earned her license as a CPA. During that time, only 1% of CPAs were African American. In 1992, she was admitted to law school in the evening program at North Carolina Central University in Durham, North Carolina. She continued to work full-time while attending law school, so we already know how difficult that is. After graduating and passing the bar, it took her about a year to find an attorney position, which ended up, of course, being with the IRS. She moved to Atlanta and began practicing law as a trial attorney for the IRS. And during the last 5 years of her career, she served as the Associate Area Counsel for the Large Business and International Division in Atlanta. That's the frontline manager position where she supervised attorneys in the Atlanta and other states. Her law practice focuses on estate planning and IRS audits, which we know no one wants the IRS coming to call. Gwendolyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, LeTonya. Thank you for this opportunity.
Awesome. So as a person who does a little bit of tax, when I think about audits, I even cringe, right? Tell me, I know part of it is probably your career, but what made you, once you decided to leave, what made you decide to do audits and estate planning?
Well, I knew I wanted to become an entrepreneur and start my own practice after I retired, because I retired as soon as I could, pretty much. So I was still young and wanted to work another 10 years. So after being a government employee for so long, I wanted to work for myself.
Yeah, I can certainly understand that certainly after working in those type of structured environments, you want to do that. I love the fact that a lot of the other people that are in the tax space, like me and you, oftentimes they do get into that area of estate planning, and oftentimes they may also get into criminal law when we're thinking about criminal tax evasion. What was it that made you choose estate planning?
Well, that was an area where I thought I could serve probably more clients. It was, and on a personal front, it was going to be more structured, because then I know who I'm meeting with. I know how many clients I can accommodate per month. So for me, it's going to be much more structured, not worrying about trial deadlines, discovery deadlines, statute of limitations, etc. So that from my perspective, but from a client perspective, I like the idea of educating people about what's going to happen if they become incapacitated or die and don't have a plan in place. A lot of us don't like to think about death or possible tragedy, but the truth of the matter is we're all going to die, and some of us are going to become incapacitated before we die.
Absolutely. And I love that. And that's what I really was trying to get to, because one of the things that are near and dear to my heart is making sure that people understand you have to plan for the next phase. Just like you plan for what's going to happen, I like to say, when you're on this side of the earth, right? Mm-hmm. You have to plan for the things that's going to happen when you're on the other side of the earth, or like you said, when you're in that limbo status where you still can't do anything for yourself. Talk with us.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and no, we don't want to leave a mess for our family to have to clean up. I know I don't. I'm single, so it's not like a spouse is going to take over and, fix everything. It's going to be my siblings and my mother that would have to clean up whatever. And they don't know everything that's going on in my life. They live in North Carolina, so I don't have that day to day. And, so I feel much more confident knowing I have a plan in place. I know who's going to be the power of attorney if I become incapacitated. And when I die, I've got all of that laid out, so they don't know, should we keep her on life support for 2 days or 10 days, or all of that spelled out. So I have comfort in knowing that.
Absolutely. I love, love, love that. So outside of the, we don't like to talk about the death conversation, or what I like to say is the end of life, or the alternative life conversation. Outside of that conversation, what do you think are the things that are most difficult that people really kind of don't want to talk about, or they don't want to deal with, or challenges that you've seen in the estate planning space?
I think people don't want to talk about their death and what should happen to their body after. Do they want to be cremated? Do they want to be buried? I mean, that's something that the family would have to decide, and it's much easier if you just say what you want, so they don't have to wonder. Some people have strong feelings about cremation versus burial, and then you don't want to fight with the family, you know, when you're gone, when you could have just said, oh, I definitely want to be cremated.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I guess there's only one way to ask this question. Do you see that there are more challenges with regard to some of the things that you learn in some communities versus others?
That's a good question. I can't make a comparison right now because I just launched my firm this year, so I haven't seen a wide variety of different types of communities. I'm not sure. I do feel like in our community there's a taboo or a reluctance to talk about this subject.
Yeah, absolutely. And that actually has been my experience as well. It's interesting because a lot of the things that I make recommendations about to my business clients, they don't understand that a lot of the things that they need on the personal side, they need that on the business side too. Like, you need a power of attorney who's going to step in and handle business operations. And it may not be the same people or the same person that you want to be your power of attorney that's handling your children or your household matters. They just may not be, they just may not be well versed enough to handle your legal matters in the sense of your business and things like that. Do you have primarily business clients or individuals?
Individuals right now.
Okay, and so with those individuals, what is the age group that you would recommend that people start to, or whether it's age group or life circumstance, where people start to really think about estate planning?
Well, I mean, I hate to be trite, but really anybody over 18 needs something in place, even if it's a power of attorney or healthcare directive, because you've reached the age of majority. So, but I think people really start thinking about it in their 40s and beyond. But if we think about it, we see something happen on TV every day. We don't know when we're going to need something in place. So it's not really something like retirement or Social Security to think about. It's to think about what would happen today if I didn't make it home. What would happen if I would become incapacitated today? So anybody really fits in that category because we don't know when we're going to die.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I totally agree. I have a niece that is in college. I have another niece, her older sister, that's beyond college age, and like my son. And I've told them that exact same thing. Like, we're sitting around the table having this conversation. This is not for the older folks, right? It's for you guys too to really think about, because you have to start thinking about this now. But I wanted to ask that question because I know our listeners range in age from that mid-20s all the way up to about 50 years old. And so they fall, of course, into this realm that you're thinking about. But I also do want the younger folks to know that these are things that you need to think about. Just in general, but especially if you have children, right? You need to have something in place that says what your wishes are as it relates to that. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, if they think about they're building their career, they're building up assets, etc. But what if? And just think about that. What if? So you just want a plan in place to protect you, and so that you don't put your family in a mess. Because even if you don't die and you become incapacitated, that's going to be a hardship on your family as well. And some people think, well, I don't have this many assets, or I don't have a ton of money, etc. But just think of the comfort of your family knowing what you want done with what you do have, or what how you want to be treated medically if you do become incapacitated and can't speak for yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. So before we let you go, what is like one thing that you would like to leave our audience with?
I would say talk to your family. Let's say you don't think you want to put a plan in place, you're afraid or whatever. Be open to the topic and talk about what if with your family. So at least they know. If you don't have a formal plan in place, at least share your hopes, your dreams, your wishes with your family.
Absolutely. And let our audience know where they can contact you.
Sure. My website is www.walkwithwalker.com. And my phone number is 470-499-4946. And I serve clients in North Carolina and Georgia. I'm licensed in North Carolina as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here on Power of Attorney. Guys, make sure that you reach out. This is really a difficult conversation, and it's best to have that conversation with a professional like Gwendolyn that can walk you through that process and also give you the best advice that you can get. So again, Gwendolyn, thank you so much for being on the Power of Attorney podcast.
My pleasure, and thank you so much for the opportunity. Bye-bye.